Well, we recently received an email from an anonymous viewer who applied for a job with the City of Bozeman. The applicant expressed concern with a certain part of the city's background check policy. To be considered, applicants must provide information about any social network site to which they subscribe, such as Facebook or MySpace. And the job seeker must give city officials their username or login and password. The news station's Dan Boyce has more on whether this requirement is a violation of privacy.
Article 2, Section 10 of the Montana Constitution reads, "The right of individual privacy is essential to the well-being of a free society and shall not be infringed without the showing of a compelling state interest." City Attorney Sullivan says the city takes privacy rights very seriously, but this request balances those rights with the city's need to ensure employees will protect the public trust.
So we have positions ranging from fire and police, which require people of high integrity to have those positions, all the way down to the lifeguards and the folks that work in City Hall here. So we do those types of investigations to make sure that the people that we hire have the highest moral character and are a good fit for the city.
But here's something the applicant pointed out. If I apply for a city job and I include my Facebook password, for instance, the city not only has access to my page, but the page of every one of my friends.
And and I can understand that concern. One thing that's important for folks to understand about what we look for is none of the things that the federal constitution or the state constitution lists as protected things, we don't use those. We're looking for very specific information. We're not putting out this broad brush stroke of trying to find out all kinds of information about the person that we're not able to use or shouldn't use in the hiring process.
When asked about creating a separate Bozeman Facebook page, then asking applicants to add the city as a friend, Sullivan said officials could explore the option. This would limit the city to only viewing the page of the applicant. Officials say no one has ever removed his or her name from consideration due to the request. In Bozeman, I'm Dan Boyce for Montana's news station.
And you can see Dan's full interview with City Attorney Greg Sullivan on our website, and tell us what you think by taking our online poll. Our top story this morning, Bozeman officials are getting a tremendous response from around the country and the world after a story we brought you Wednesday on the city's background check policy. It asked applicants to supply usernames and passwords for any social networking site to which they subscribe, like MySpace or Facebook. The news station's Dan Boyce tells us the city has already started meeting to discuss the legality of that request.
Yeah, we've had a pretty big response, be it through email and other media outlets wanting to talk to us about our practice.
Fox News, NPR, CBS, ABC, the city has heard from them all. Officials have also received a lot of negative reaction from the public.
In fairness to those folks, I think it's easy to maybe not think about who's being hired and what responsibilities they have when they work for the city.
City Manager Chris Kukulski says Bozeman stands by the policy of looking at social network pages of applicants. He says it's important for judging the character of future police, firemen, or other employees. But Bozeman resident Michael Becker has problems with how the city views that information. He sent an email to City Attorney Greg Sullivan with 14 questions on the legality of the practice. He says asking for passwords is not only an invasion of privacy.
Well, first of all, it is a violation of Facebook and MySpace's terms of service. Both of them prohibit giving out your password to a third party, right in their terms of service, the ones you agreed upon when you signed up to the site. So that's not illegal, but it is a violation of their terms of service. So by giving your password to the City of Bozeman, you're placing your account in jeopardy.
We're not interested in violating whether it's the rules of the social networks, certainly not interested in violating any civil rights or state or federal protected areas.
The city's legal services and human resources departments have met to discuss potential problems with the request. City officials say if they do decide to change the policy, it's something that will be done administratively. Action does not need to be taken by the City Commission. At Bozeman City Hall, I'm Dan Boyce for Montana's news station.
Effective at noon today, the City of Bozeman permanently ceased the practice of requesting that candidates selected for positions under a provisional job offer to provide their names, the usernames or passwords for candidates' internet sites.
City Manager Chris Kukulski says after a 90-minute staff meeting held earlier in the day, officials decided asking applicants to provide their passwords to sites such as Facebook or MySpace, quote, exceeded that which is acceptable to our community. Officials initially stood by the practice, saying social network pages provided valuable information into the character of potential city employees. But the blogosphere latched onto how that information was viewed, saying requiring passwords is not only an invasion of privacy, but also violates the user agreements of those sites. The story was picked up by the major television networks, the U.S. News and World Report, an online newspaper in the UK, among many others, and thousands responded to our online poll, 98% against the policy. Kukulski apologized for the negative impact the issue has had on the community. He says the city is also suspending the practice of viewing any password-protected information, although Bozeman will continue using other methods for conducting thorough background checks.
We have people who are in law enforcement. We have people who find themselves commonly in people's homes. We have people who take care of people's children. And so the issue of doing background checks and using the internet as a tool to do that, we're going to continue.
Yet, while Bozeman officials will stop asking for passwords, Kukulski says the passwords already given by previous applicants will remain the confidential property of the city. In Bozeman, I'm Dan Boyce for Montana's News Station.